All right. So thanks so much for everybody for being here today. And we're really excited about today's Ask the Expert seminar. We've got some, of course, an incredibly powerful topic that is really affecting all of us in a lot of different ways. And we have some people here today that are here to give us some answers, ask some questions, and they've done a great job with communicating some of the problems and challenges from the events vendor side of things, so that politicians and those who are big decision makers can get the most sincere and authentic information, not just hearsay or not lumping us along with Live Nation and a lot of the huge operations that are out there. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a little conversation, a little bit of a webinar with the special guest today, and a little bit later we will have a question and answer where you guys can contribute different questions and we will collectively figure things out. So I hope you guys enjoy today's program. And the name of the organization is the Illinois Events Coalition. And we are thrilled to have Allie Phillips, Colin Pearson, and Michelle Dupetti here today. So we're going to start things off. And maybe, Michelle, you can tell me a little bit about what inspired the three of you, Allie, Colin, and yourself, to start the Illinois Events Coalition 3 weeks ago.
Absolutely. First, David, let me just say thanks on behalf of all three of us for having us today. It really means a lot to have the opportunity, and also your kitchen behind you is immaculate. I'm very impressed.
Not always that way, but for today, I decided to do a little extra.
I'm impressed. So anyway, getting back to the question at hand, a little bit of what inspired Allie and Colin and I to start this coalition. So long story, very short, as I'm sure like the rest of you on this webinar today, I had a morning, probably, Allie, was it 4 weeks ago? I think it was 4 weeks ago. I woke up really early. Yeah, I called Allie at like 6:45 and I was like, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated and I'm scared because, you know, as many of you might know, in addition to being a member of the Illinois events community, my family also has restaurants. And so when this hit the restaurant industry, the Illinois Restaurant Association and the National Restaurant Association were able to organize very quickly, and they were able to evolve very quickly from being advocates always to really becoming involved in the policy and legislation that's been rolling out to protect restaurants. And I didn't see that happening for the industry. And I thought it was great that we were all banding together and supporting one another, you know, on social media platforms and everything. That's so important, but equally as important was the reality that, you know, it looks, for all intents and purposes, especially from the beginning of this to where we are today, to moving forward, that as, you know, as events professionals, we can't do our jobs right now. Like, events are at a standstill, and someone needs to protect us, and consequently the businesses we worked really hard to build and the clients that we work really, really hard to cultivate relationships with. So for us, David, it was literally like, I woke up one morning, I called Allie, and Allie was having the same moment. I wrangled in Colin, who was kind of feeling the same way. I was lucky enough to be on unemployment because of the restaurant, whereas Allie and Colin are in a different position. So they came from that angle, and that was sort of the start of it.
Okay, and tell us about the process you went through with creating the coalition. Allie, I know you were certainly a big part of the inspiration to kind of get things started. What were some of your first steps to make this happen?
So we had a long chat that morning, and I said, because I'm quite the reader and the researcher. Like,
this is very true.
I've read the entire HEROES Act that's hopefully going to go to Senate this week. But I did a little research and just sort of I literally went to Google and searched like coalitions, event support, and I came across the DC Event Coalition, so the Washington DC Event Coalition. And I was reading the website and I was like, that is a lot of like what we're talking about. And then one of the founding members, her logo scrolled, and I know her very well from a fam trip and then from a wedding conference, Jeanette Tavares from Evoke DC. And so I reached out to her on Instagram on a Saturday night. None of us are right. We're all home. And she sent a message back right away, a DM in my Instagram. And we then chatted on Sunday. So she was really helpful in how we organized, and gave us great advice and tips. She invited us to her call, because they have a call every Tuesday. And you can see their recordings on their website about 24 hours after those calls happen. They're having one in about 45 minutes. And so she was really instrumental in helping in that regard. And then Michelle and I also found the Live Events Coalition, and Colin, Michelle, and I started talking and like, how are we going to do this? So we really divided and conquered in creating it, and put the website together. And Colin, fast. We did the writing and I did the resources, and we got a logo from our friend Angela DeVoe of Wedlux Magazine and Cloud9 Agency. And then we sent it, and Colin had it up in 3 days, Colin? Yeah. And so we knew what we wanted to do, which was advocate, educate, and support everyone in Illinois with what we're all going through now. So did I leave anything out, Michelle or Colin?
No, I don't think so.
No.
That's great. And Allie, you had mentioned the website, and Colin, I'm guessing you were one of the main proponents of the website, and you've done some work in developing that. Maybe
That
you
is
could
correct.
talk a little bit about what information is there and how it's organized, and kind of what the main purpose of the website really is.
Sure. So really, it did come together in like 3 days. So if anybody sees any errors, just let me know.
Let him know, not Allie and I. Just
You know, so I'll be able to fix them. But you know, it's basically a gathering of resources as they become available to us. We've got a great blog roll on there. It's an update page, which we're pretty much getting to what I'd say every like at least 24 to 48 hours.
When we have something relevant.
Yeah, when we have something relevant that we want to share. So it's a good way to keep abreast of all the different developments that are happening with our elected officials, or anything that's happening as far as a resource that potentially becomes available. You know, the other big thing about the website is that we have links to actually type your name in and write a comment and send a letter to our elected officials. So it's for our senators here in Illinois, and then also to send tweets out to all those people. And we have those links directly there. So it's all kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of good, concise information. And, you know, we'll also be doing the Facebook page updates, which is also a great way to find information. And then our newsletter that we're sending out via email. And that's really the main components. The Facebook page is great because we can have a little more back and forth conversation if people have specific questions that we may be able to answer. And then the website is great for all those really good resources that we've kind of pared down based on Allie's research.
And Allie did just share the link too.
Allie just did. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I can,
Sure.
I was going to try to share my screen and show everyone and walk them through that. David, I'm going to try to share my screen, okay?
Sure.
Oh, no, I can't share it. Sorry.
Okay.
If everyone,
Just kidding.
yeah, if everyone wants to go to the link that I just sent, I'll kind of like walk you through that. It's pretty easy. At the top, it's send a letter to your senator. So that's a letter that Michelle and Colin and I have written with some help from an amazing woman that has worked as a lobbyist and is in policy making here. So you can feel down, and towards the bottom, you'll just fill in your first name, your last name, your email address, your mailing address, and your job title. And then you just press send email. And then if you feel down even further, you can very easily have a pre-generated tweet to Governor Pritzker, Mayor Lightfoot, and then both the senators. So please take a look at that link and read it and help get us to 300. We're at 173 right now. So maybe following this call, we'll get even closer to 300.
Absolutely. And also this webinar is being recorded too. So we'll be posting this on our unplanned group page, of course, on your page, and you can definitely put the link right there. And what I think is so great about what you're doing is not only are you addressing the needs of all the vendors, but you're making it in a very actionable kind of way, because there's certainly a lot of information, but people are maybe reading some information, then not really knowing what to do. And I really love that you guys have really centered your organization on these are the specific actions to take that's going to have the most impact on the right to getting to the right people, which I think is super important. And Colin, you've done a great job of making it very easy. So really, really appreciate that. If you need some, anybody needs some website work, Colin is perhaps available at some point. So, he's a little busy these days, but down the road, maybe this could be another side business for you. But it's a great thing that you guys are doing.
No, thank you.
Thanks for that, David. Good idea.
Absolutely. And also, so now let's go switch gears a little bit with Michelle. Maybe you can talk about what is the ultimate goal that the coalition is trying to accomplish. We've talked about how you got started. We've talked about some of the resources and ways to get involved and to make a difference. So now let's kind of look towards the future and what the ultimate goal is for having the coalition.
I'm so glad that you asked this question, because I feel like this is a really important question, right? It's one thing to start a coalition and be talking about it on various platforms and be sharing the message that we're out here, but it's another thing to really make sure that everybody in the Illinois events community and beyond understand what it is we're trying to do. And for us, there's a couple of different components that factor into our sort of overall goal. The first one is educate. And what we're trying to do when we say educate is both within the industry, educate people that the reality is we are probably not going to be able to do our jobs the way that we knew how to do them prior to this for quite some time. Okay. And outside of the injury, it's kind of ironic. Outside of the industry, educating people on who we are and what we do and how much we contribute to the fabric of the economy in Illinois and Chicago, how much those of us in this industry are a part of everybody's lives, from weddings to live events to grand openings to concerts to funerals to press briefings. There's so many of us that make up this community that in Illinois alone, when you count the luxury wedding market, we contribute $2.8 billion to the economy. 2.8 billion with a B, that's a lot of dollars. And so once you take that knowledge and you share it, right, then you go into the advocacy part. So now you've educated the general public on who we are and what we do. And like David, you've been so great on your Facebook page about sharing multiple discussions on how vendors are being treated right now, because all of us are trying to calibrate, right? Events are at a standstill. Our income and our revenue streams are consequently at a standstill. We're working tirelessly to either reschedule or accommodate the requests of customers and clients, depending on what they are. Some of us, while in a constant state of free fall, if not most of us. And that's where that's part of the educational component. People need to understand, like David, you and I had a conversation about what I went through with my venue and CBS. People need to understand what vendors are going through. Yes, it is tragic that hundreds of thousands of couples and people are displaced from their weddings and events. No less tragic is what we are going through. So that's important, right? And for inside the industry, what then becomes important is, what do you do with that? We all know we feel that way. Now we know what we're contributing to the economy. So where do we go? There's the advocacy part. Take all of that information, what we contribute economically, how we impact the economy, how we're impacted by the coronavirus and COVID-19, and direct that to conversations within those offices in Illinois that are, like I always say, quote Hamilton, in the room where it happens, right? Those people that are in that room, how do you get to them? And how do you start a conversation that makes sure that we as a coalition are a part of those decisions, right? Or at least a part of the knowledge garnering process. And so the letters are written in a very strategic way. They're unemotional. It's a very, as Allie has pointed out many times, like to me, when all of this is happening right around us, life is still happening. We're not on pause as much as it feels like we are. And so it's easy to get a little numb or get a little overly emotional. But the important thing is, for the coalition, we stay our course. We're always polite. We want to be an asset to those policymakers and elected officials. It's not our intention to go banging on a door because we want to feel like we want to feel as much as a resource to them as they then can be for us. The goal of that is then, like Colin was talking about, our updates tab on the website, our newsletters. What we feel is an obligation to speak to these elected officials on your behalf when we are on your Facebook page, David, or we are getting emails on our coalition website, or Allie and Colin are doing various surveys and all of the information gathering that happens. We take that and we go to them and we say, look, there is a specific vendor who is having this problem, and it goes to speak to a larger issue that many vendors are having. What are you going to do to include us in the conversation? And what are you going to do, more importantly, to include us in the aid, right? That's where we're coming from. And ultimately, the third component then becomes obviously support. Because when you advocate and you educate, what you're doing is, when you're part of the coalition's efforts, you're supporting the industry that we love to be in. None of us are in this because we had intentions of becoming millionaires, right? Like, it's like the restaurant industry, it's got small margins, but it's a passion and a calling as much as it is a job, right? The ability to play music every night, David, or for Colin to photograph, for Allie to design. So many of you, like I know Frank is in the call, and Amy, and even Chris at the estate. So many of us, all of us are creators. We want to preserve that because this is as much who we are as what we do. So that's kind of, does that make sense? As we move down the road out of the urgent phase, our hope is not only to continue those three things, but to grow more the educational component. So there is continuing education on how to stay involved in the conversation with legislative officials, and to continue to educate ourselves as members of this industry to be stronger and smarter after the experiences we've all been through.
I think sometimes the best situations come out of the worst initial situations. And I think the way that the events community has kind of rallied together, I think is really incredible. And the same way that when we have a giant event, even if these are vendors maybe you haven't worked with before, you all rally together and you become a team for that one event. And I think this situation is a great opportunity for all these talented people that care about going back to work together to educate each other and to drop our egos and to drop who's accomplished what. We are all in this together. It is a great equalizer. And I think, the work you guys are doing is really important that way.
Well, thanks. You make such a valid point, right? Because we do all work together on a constant basis. And whether or not we find ourselves in, say, that circle we carefully curate, or we're introduced to a new vendor, professionalism and, the ability to stick to your timeline and communicate effectively and do the job on behalf of the client is, we show up. That's any day that ends in Y for us as an industry. And like, we work in live events where nothing ever goes perfectly according to plan every time. So this is like, our ability to come together is based on that. That's a resume that speaks to a lot of character. So a great point, David.
And I think it's also, you guys are kind of like translators in a way, because you're dealing both on one side of all the vendors who are watching this and will be watching this, in terms of like getting their feelings, what they're dealing with. And then you have to turn around and talk to somebody who has really no idea about what people are going through. So you do have to be able to speak both languages, because we're upset, but you have to calm people down, and you have to get to the raw essence of like, okay, what do we need to do when we're talking to a state representative? They're not really going to care about all the specific ins and outs of everything. They have to, but we have to be able to represent, the people that are suffering, and to do it in a way that's going to be proactive, and that they can actually make better, smarter decisions. That it's actually, we're not doing this to be selfish. We're doing this because we want it to be a fair representation between ourselves, our clients, and getting back to work. And I know Colin, go ahead.
One quick thing is that when we were on a call with Senator Durbin's office, and we were on the call for almost a full hour, and just at the end, I said one question to the gentleman who really had no idea about our industry until we had educated him about it. And I said, "Look, are you married?" But
he was very interested.
He was very. He was absolutely.
Durbin's office was wonderful.
They were absolutely fantastic. And I said to him, "Look, are you married?" And he goes, "No." And I said, "Okay, well, imagine if you were getting married. Would you want to have a wedding anytime in the next X number of weeks or months?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, okay, I guess you're right." And a little phrase sometimes to connect with these people that we're on these calls with is the one of the biggest things we can do, because then it really hits home.
Yeah.
And figuring out how we've been able to do that with Allie and Michelle has been really, really interesting.
Yeah, Allie did that with Congressman Kelly also.
Completely, yes. And those little analogies are helping.
Congresswoman.
Yes. And those little analogies are helping us to relate to these elected officials we're trying to have these conversations with.
And I think that is a great bridge to be able to go with how most people operate, and
Right.
show them something in the real life, how that translates to what we're doing. And Allie, you had a point?
Yeah, and one thing too, like I just so we can tell, because it's we're voraciously writing. I mean, voraciously writing when we're talking, and the questions that they're asking are really interesting. It's like the financial impact they're very
Mhm.
interested in. When we talked to Congresswoman Kelly's like head legislative aide, he was very interested about his particular district, which is District
Mhm.
2, and we're going to be sending out a survey to everyone so we can understand more each district, right? And how that impacted. So we're collecting data for them. But one thing is too, he was very interested in how the process was working for the PPP, the EIDL, and the unemployment. So that was really great that
Which are
they're
our
asking,
3
how's
things.
it going? Yeah. And especially with the IDES and the PUA, which Colin has been so great about sharing with everyone, is he's like, how's that process going? And we're like, I mean, not great. It can be confusing. And so it was nice that I mean, like, right, we're governing for the people, by the people, right? I think that my friend Emily, like Campbell said, that it makes so much sense. They do want to talk to us and hear from us. They understand and they want to understand. And that, I think, is important as we move forward, is that let's not, like, we need to get through this, but then even further down the road, the events industry needs a bigger voice, kind of like the restaurant industry and the travel industry. And in 3 or 4 weeks, we've learned that, right, Michelle? They heard about it.
And I think too, David, Allie makes a valid point when you were asking before, like translating back and forth. I think that a lot of these elected officials, it's easy, like these are tumultuous times. So people love the mayor, they hate the mayor. They love the governor, they hate the governor. They love the senator, they hate the senator. You go back, it's like a rigmarole, right? Like you don't know which way the wind blows sometimes. And at the end of the day, they're still elected officials. And so that right now they're in office, and we need them to be able to go to have these conversations, right? So when we go and we say, respectfully, we'd like to be a resource, respectfully, we'd like to translate our industry to you, they grab it. Like even the Department of Commerce and Economic Development has Economic Opportunity, DCEO, from the governor's office has reached out, and we're working on scheduling a call this week because they have some information that they want to ask us about, which I thought was really cool. So, little by little, Allie's been great on the ground, sending out the letters the old-fashioned way. Colin and I work as diligently as we can to complement Allie with the electronic version. Those letters that we ask you all to send, that link that's in the message, is so important, because the more they hear from us after receiving our initial letter, after the piece being in Cranes, interviews like this, the more they hear from us as an industry, the more power we have. The restaurant industry in Illinois is so organized. When they do a call to action, hundreds, if not thousands of people show up. So that's really important to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more unified we can be, the stronger our voice is going to be. Just like a choir that's all singing the same note, it's a much more powerful and more direct process. So I think the clearer, the simpler the ideas are, the more people will take us seriously. I think if people start to go off on little tangents, that undercuts in the same way when people start returning the security deposits and they want to be a nice guy. And then that bride turns around to all the vendors and said, hey, all my other vendors are giving me my money back. You're the bad guy, So I think the more unified we can be as an industry, the stronger we're going to be. And really, the more it's going to benefit everybody.
And like for us, I agree with you, David, 100%. And like for us as a coalition, our main focus is on speaking with elected officials on what it is we're going through and how we're being impacted. So like those kinds of instances where, everyone is faced with making decisions that aren't uniform because there's been no uniform information, becomes valid. We don't get into, as a coalition, we make a very mindful decision not to get into do we or don't we or how we or will we, because we want to be mindful of things like, antitrust and all of that. So because we're speaking with so many elected officials, we need to be mindful of that. But you make a really valid point, and that is the more unified our voices on this level, and the more we can reach them, the better our options will be. And that's the important part.
Absolutely. And Colin, I know one of the big things you do is on Tuesdays, you have your DC calls. right? And I'm
Yeah.
assuming you're not playing with comic books at this point. So your DC calls are very, very important. And maybe you can talk about how you strategize,
Sure.
who to call, and what information you want to have covered during those calls.
So it's actually with the DC Events Coalition, and every Tuesday they do a webinar, and they always share that on their website after their webinar happens. So
Which we can also share to our Facebook.
we also try to help, everybody helps each other kind of thing. And so it's every Tuesday they put it up on the website, and it's a great resource because they're in the heart of it all, being in DC. So they get a lot of great information. And we always try to listen in. We always try to at least listen in or be on it after the fact,
Yeah, Alan
and
was on
hear
this
from
one.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
you were on
I
this.
mean, today,
Yeah.
like today, their call starts at 11:30 Chicago time, and they
Right.
have John Falciccio on the call today. He's the DC Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. So
Bingo.
clearly, he's going to have a lot of great advice, right? So, and that's DC focused, but those calls that I've been on, and we're in communication with them all the time.
Yes.
Because of just networking and like standing shoulder to
And
shoulder.
guidance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So those are calls that we share on our Facebook. We'll share with you as well. And then you can see the replay if you're not able to watch it live. So they do sometimes two calls a week, like Tuesdays and Thursdays. But today's call at 11:30 Chicago time and anyone is welcome to go. Should be very interesting since they're talking to the deputy chief. I mean, that's a big
Oh, yeah.
that's a speaker to get.
And we also have this coming Tuesday.
We're starting our own
We're going to
Tuesday.
start doing on Tuesdays as well. We're going to have Harmony Walton from Bridal Bar at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, and we're going to talk about marketing, PR, social media, and all that related to coronavirus and how best practices can help you move forward.
That's
And I
great.
think
And
it's
Ellie,
important.
what are the three things that you really want new members to be doing? What are some things that you'd like them, now that they've joined your website and kind of bought into your movement and your organization? What are three things specifically you want them to be doing?
It's pretty easy. One is join as a supporter. So you'll go to our website, which is ileventscoalition.com, which I'll put in the chat bar, and join as a supporter. You just join as a supporter. It will then add you to our email list, so you get our newsletter. The second thing is to really help us get these letters and these tweets out. So I will again share the link in the chat bar, because that's really important. If that letter comes in 300 times, Michelle. Yeah.
Forget to remind people
Yes.
that they can also share the link on their own social media of
Absolutely.
that letter. I always forget that part, but they can share it too on their social. So
yeah, share on your social,
Yeah.
and there's a little tweet bar there that's really easy.
tell your friends.
Yeah, and then share with your network. So, for instance, I've met a lot of people in the event industry that I've never worked with, and it's just because of whatever happen chance that it is. I mean, I have 17 years in the business, but I've met people through the coalition. I've met people through your Facebook page that I've never gotten to work with that I look forward to working with. I'm meeting people on social media all the time. So it's share with everyone that you know to help us get the word out even more to the event industry in Illinois, or anyone who works in this city, because there's a lot of people all over the world who work here and they need to understand what's going on in Illinois. I mean, I spoke with people all over the world last week, and some people were so surprised, and not everyone knows what's going on state to state. So if you're going to work in this city, you still need to understand what's going on here. We're going to open up in Illinois, right? But not in Chicago. And Mayor Lightfoot has made that very clear for the safety of the people that live in the Chicago area.
Mhm.
So, but help us share, because then we can reach as many people as possible.
And you don't need to only be in the industry to write that letter to Senators Duckworth and Durbin.
Absolutely.
Your mom can write it. Your sister can write it on your behalf. Your best friend. If your dog is great with a computer, send it to him. David, I think your dog could probably do it. You have a very talented dog.
Very talented, yes, absolutely.
Everyone out Yes. If you have friends, neighbors, people that love you and like you, ask them on your social media, send them emails. Hey, can you help me? This is good for my industry. Can you send this letter? Everybody who can sign a name and address should be included in the outreach of helping us reach 300.
Yes.
Please and thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also, horses can also
Correct.
can do
That
this
is
as
very
well.
correct.
So
Yes.
if you
Yes.
have any horse friends, they may be
I
able
have
to support
several,
this.
so I can reach.
Several, yes,
I
okay.
can cover that. Yep. Got it.
So speaking of stable, as we're trying to get to more stable types of situations, and everybody is trying to be patient, and we are gradually moving 2020 over to 2021, it seems. What kind of
Right.
words of advice or inspiration would you guys have to the vendors that are sitting at home right now watching this and trying to figure out how they're going to make their way through this the situation?
Um, I'll start if that's okay with Colin and Allie. Okay.
Go
So
ahead.
I would say this. I don't know that I'm an expert of any one thing. So I'm not necessarily going to tell you what you should be doing, but I'm willing and more than happy to share with you what I'm doing. Because as a restaurateur, as a venue owner, and as a wedding planner, and my husband is a photographer. Many of my dear friends are in this industry. My dad lives on supplementary oxygen. My family still lives in Italy. I lost one of my horses this morning. So there is not a moment that I don't feel hit from all sides. And I'm not telling you that to try to get sympathy. I'm telling you that to give empathy. Because I know what you're all going through. I know you're scared, and I know it's angering, and it's frightening. And what I would say is this: I remind myself to breathe frequently. I know that sounds contrite, but it is true. I remind myself to remember to be grateful for the things that I have. It is so easy when so much of what you know is swept right out from under you. It is really important to remember to be grateful. I learned this when my family's downtown location caught on fire in September, and we were just wiped out in a minute. And remembering to be grateful that nobody was hurt and that we could come back was something really important. And that's what I'm saying here. This is awful. And it feels terrible some days. Some days you feel okay. Some days you're like, oh, the birds are singing. I'm going to go for a walk. The next day you're like in a corner rocking quietly, right? Because you don't know what you're doing. I think we all have to feel what we feel. Breathe. Be mindful of one another. Remember respect. Not everyone's going to be on your page. Not everyone's going to understand or want to understand your point of view. All you can do is express it as nicely and kindly as possible. And remember, this is what I will tell you. This is my big takeaway, and then I'll stop talking. When Chicago caught on fire in September, and we had scheduled a grand opening for that restaurant on March 26th, and about 10 days prior, we realized that that wasn't going to happen. What I told myself was this: the restaurant's going to open for delivery and takeout because I have no other choice, right? It's not going to be the party I want to be having. It's not going to be, my clients moving to 2021 is not what I want as a wedding planner. My husband having no income since February is not what he wants or what I want. What are the options? Survival is the only option. So tenacity, survival, seeking support from one another, and just figuring out a way how to forge a path one step at a time. There's no, for me, there's no other alternative. So I hope some of you on the call can take something from that. I'm not saying that you're going to charge forward every day. I had a really crappy morning myself this morning, but I think, resilience and tenacity are key. So I hope that makes you guys, I hope that's a takeaway for you.
Absolutely. I think those are really, really good words. And I had a wise person once in college I was dealing with a challenging situation. And he said that life is kind of like this big mosaic painting. And right now we all have this big tile in our face and we can't understand it. We can't see it. But when we step back and we look at that tile in relationship to the rest of the painting, we see like, wow, we had to go through that, and that made me so much stronger. And I was able to maybe forge some new relationships or pivot my business a little bit. And I'm such a stronger person having gone through that, as painful as it was, that somehow in the long run, we will begin to thrive again. And to organizations like the work that you guys are doing, that are going to unify us, not just during these troubled times, but also, like a phoenix. We're going to get through this thing, and we're
Yes.
going to rise again, and we're going to be like so much stronger as a united front. And I look forward to that day. In the meantime, we have to count on each other, be a little extra kind to each other, reach out to people, even when there's no need to call them, just to check in and say everything's going to be, we're going to get through this, and we're going to hold hands, or at one point we'll hold hands, and be able to like stay strong. And I think the work you guys are doing is important, and all the vendors out there is to look in on each other and be creative. And we're going to find a way to march our way through this. But being proactive is certainly a part of it. And there are days where we feel like we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. But you have to like realize that those days are going to come. But in the meantime, stay proactive. Join groups like this. If you want to join our unplanned page, I'm trying to contribute as much information there as possible. Having some great experts like you guys. David Tutera is going to be on next week's program to give some words and some insights from a national scale. Very cool. To help get through this stuff too, which should be an interesting conversation. But so I thought maybe we can switch over to, and Allie has just put a link there to the website. Make sure you guys click on that and do all the things they have told you guys to participate in, and get all of your pets, families, neighbors, anybody you know who has got a computer and a mouse or something to get involved. That's the way we're going to get through this thing. And right now, I think we're going to switch over to, unless, Allie, did you want to say a few more things about some inspirational ways?
Yeah, I mean, I think Michelle like nailed it, right? And we talked the other day. She said something to me yesterday, or I don't know. We talked so much, I can't. So it's life isn't on pause. We're still happening. We're still getting older. We're still, we're growing. And so when I said to someone the other day, I was like, oh, this is my 17th wedding season. And I kind of stopped myself. And I'm like, it might not be the wedding seasons that I have known in the past, but it is still the fabric of my business. So what I do now and how I act is very critical to when we come out of this. Like you said, Phoenix rising. I think Michelle says that. And so for me, what I have said is I want to remember everything I've gained during this time, not all that I've lost. Because we've all lost, I've gained a lot of weight, but we've all, other than that, right? So we've all lost a lot financially, so in so many emotionally, financially,
spiritually.
I mean, it's mind blowing. So when I do have the days that I'm rocking in the corner, I'm like, all right, like Michelle said, pick yourself up and keep moving forward. And that's one thing that's the words that I would say to everyone is just don't catch yourself. Cause I do it a lot, right? I go down the spiral. We're home. I'm literally, it's just me and my hubby and maybe some walks every day. And I can get in my head. And so just remember too, when you get into your head, just think to yourself, okay, I'm going to keep moving forward and life is going and my business is going to keep going, and in a different way, but always remain constant to that and that knowledge.
Absolutely. And Michelle?
I was just going to say, and just to everybody out there too, if you don't have that person that you can go to, Allie and I talk 27,000 times a day.
A lot.
If you don't have that person and you need one, we're not just about reaching out to elected officials within the state. We're here for support. So if you need help, reach out. If it's, do you have an attorney you can recommend, or I'm having a really bad day? While none of us are lawyers or accountants or mental health professionals, we can certainly be an ear and potentially point you in a direction to get you the help that you need if you need it. So we're here for you because we want you to be here beyond coronavirus so that milestone events can continue to happen because of you guys. So just know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wanted to share with you, there's a interview I saw with Muhammad Ali once, and he was talking about the Thrilla in Manila. He had to fight George Foreman, who's this big 6'7" giant of a human being. And so he was thinking, if it was just him versus, George Foreman, he could never beat him. but he thought about like all his family and friends and all his supporters and all the people, all the clients. You can, for us, all the clients and all the amazing weddings and all our friends and all our families and generations back is a stadium full of people that are rooting for us, that are behind us. It's not just the people sitting in your living room or your kitchen, even though it's meticulously put together like for a day. It's everybody that you've ever worked for, that, and your family and everybody that you don't see on a daily basis that is behind you. So it is not, you are not alone. You're not stuck with this thing. We are all, figuring this thing out together. And that's the beautiful thing and inspirational thing about it, is that think about, what can I do? Okay, maybe I can't do this, but what am I legally able to do? And what do people need? And what is the thing that people really are looking for the most, and how can I fulfill that? So it may be something that some small aspect of what your job is, that you may be able to switch over to. And I've started 4 new projects that I'll be announcing next week, kind of based on a smaller aspect of what we do and what people need. And I think there's a lot of opportunities. I mean, a lot of the biggest companies like Uber and a lot of companies started during like the recession, brought out a lot of huge innovations. So, don't just open your mind to what's possible, because we've access to so much information now, so much technology. I mean, the fact that we can do this is pretty amazing. So, you look at those types of things, remember that there's a lot of people behind you supporting you, not just with information, but also emotional support, like Michelle was talking about, and, you've got a friend. I'll be your friend. Allie, be your friend. Colin and Michelle, we are all your friends, and we are here to help. And that's what this whole thing's all about.
Agree. David, I see a question that was asked a little while ago. I know you said
Sure.
Did you want to jump to Q&A?
Yep. Let's jump over to that. Okay.
Really quickly, Michelle Rose. Hi, Michelle with 1 L. I am 2 L's. She asked, you're moving the chat. I can't read it. Yeah. The joys of marriage in a time of quarantine when you have to share a computer.
Okay.
How can we get more information about the Tuesday meeting? Sounds like it would have lots of helpful information. Okay, so if you're referencing the Tuesday DC call, that we can post on our Facebook page. David can obviously remind you about the Ask the Experts on Tuesday through his unplanned Facebook group. And then as far as our webinar that we'll be doing next week, we are going to do it in the afternoon so that we don't play. We want everyone to be able to come to David and then maybe join us in the afternoon. We know that you all, and we will make ours like David does. Allie's really great at this cloud situation where she records, and I am clueless of the cloud, but it will be next week, 2 p.m. Tuesday. Harmony, in addition to being brilliant at what she does, is also a very dear friend of Allie's, and has graciously agreed to come on, and she'll be discussing marketing, public relations, and best social media practices during a time like this, moving through it, what your message needs to be and how you carry your company through it and then beyond it. So we will post on our Facebook and on our website about that one. But David's is always at 10 o'clock, right, David?
Yeah, 10 o'clock. Actually, next week, it's going to be at noon because David Gutierrez
Just
is
kidding.
in Los Angeles. So I couldn't get him up.
No, just kidding.
he's got,
And then, so that's at noon Central Time, right? And
usually it's at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and you always post about that both on your personal and on Facebook, right?
Yep.
Allie, the DC Event Coalition call is normally at what time?
11:30 Chicago time.
Okay.
There's usually like over 500 participants. It's like this webinar style. So you can listen when you're on the road or on a headset if you're on a, whatever you're doing. And then
So I hope that answers your question. I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
Michelle
Yeah.
with one.
Yeah.
We'll post too. We're going to share, obviously we'll share reminders about David's calls and then the DC calls so that our followers, and please join our Facebook page as well. So that you can also get support there. So we'll post there as well as things that we see that are good for you to attend come up.
Yeah.
So if you guys could just clear out your Tuesdays, that's basically what we're
Yeah.
doing.
Pretty much.
Like have breakfast, sit down, put on your best looking sweatpants and
And
get
I know
ready.
a wonderful restaurant you can order takeout from that
Yes,
you can
if
have
you need
sustenance
lunch.
in between all your webinars.
Yeah, and what would that address? What would that be? What's
That
the
would be,
fancy
North
restaurant?
no,
Franklin.
that would be gngtogo.com. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you can put the link there, and okay. Mention the
Shameless
unplanned
plug.
group, and you get some.
Shameless plug.
That's perfectly fine. So nothing wrong with the
Yeah,
plug.
right.
And a delicious one too. So that's maybe we can have some kind of event vendor special or something.
You know,
Doing some
it's
kind
funny
of-
that you say that, because one of the final components to the coalition that we would love to curate is a charitable component. Allie and Colin and I speak often. The DC Event Coalition does wonderful work. They do drives for event industry employees that need food, that are having an issue, pantry drives and stuff like that. They've developed this really charitable component to what they do. And it is just the three of us. It is Colin, Allie, and myself that are the co-founders. We are very fortunate to have some people acting in an advisory capacity, to whom we are forever grateful to. But we're very focused right now on the outreach that we're making, because we know how urgent that is. But we do have some other things that we are working on developing. One of them is a charitable element. And I have often wondered, David, I like to be the kind of person, I like to put my money where my mouth is, right? I'm not just going to say something, I need to do it. And the reason I married Colin, one of the reasons, is because he kind of shares that. And Allie is one of my best friends for the same reason. We're sort of that same feather in terms of the kind of bird we are. So we're working on that too. So stay tuned, because I think we're going to have something to say about that.
Absolutely.
And if you need any music for stuff, I'd be happy to help you guys
Cool.
out with that too.
Okay.
I think that stuff's really important.
Good to know.
The more you give, the more
Thank you.
you get. And I think, it's impossible to give a hug without getting one. So the more we can kind of help each other, look at that. See?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
we're here.
You can
PUA, ESPN, ABC.
So I got a question, Colin. Was that the original beard, or is this a kind of a
No, this is
beard?
This is definitely not the original. It's been shaved a couple of times.
No, and it also it literally, if David, it's like it follows him everywhere. Every time I'm like, can we? And then the next day it's back.
Yeah.
No, just let it
marriage
go.
in a time of quarantine. I say it again. I say it every day.
No haircut, no shaving of the facial hair right now. So
that's good. I mean, you're got a good face for that. I think
that's all right. I just got to keep going.
I tried growing it, but I couldn't quite pull it off.
My dad's the same way. My dad's always been like clean shaven, and he was like, I just can't do it. And so,
There was all those young years in Catholic school when they, if you forgot to shave when you went to school, and they make you take a dry straight razor, single blade, and go in the bathroom and do it no shaving cream. Now I just
that'll do it. Yeah, I didn't have to go through that, but I did try the goatee thing, and I kind of look like a teenage hypnotist. I couldn't quite pull it off. So
there you go.
But it was fun for a while.
Yeah, I know. But then you just kind of,
I'm gonna try to have some kind of self-dignity if I can. But looks good on you though, and enjoy that. So let's see if you have any questions here.
Yeah, I don't see any.
Let's see. Maybe we can.
Shannon's hungry.
Okay.
May I ask about reopening plan and what can we anticipate for the coming months? So first of all, Rachel, thank you so much for joining the group, and we hope that you're joining the Illinois Events Coalition as well as David's Unplanned Facebook group. So the reopening plan is really dependent on the area that you're in.
And the municipality that you're in.
Yes. So you would have to tell us a little bit more of where you're located.
Well, no, we don't have that information yet.
Well, we can hypothesize that essentially downstate areas and rural. Okay, so you're in Chicago. So it's really going to be based on the mayor's plan in conjunction with the governor's office.
Here's what I can tell you about the preliminary conversations we've had with the DCEO is that right now they're very focused on learning who the aid will need to go to. There are some very interesting programs and legislation that they're working on drafting that will involve aid, and they want to make sure that the events industry gets included, so they want to learn about that. We have learned in our many conversations that it doesn't sound to us that phases 4 and 5 are going to change, or that we are going to not be in them in terms of when we can expect to have more, I would say, latitude, more options in terms of the kinds of events that we can do. So again, we are learning as we go, and we are very careful to be mindful of how we answer these kinds of questions, because we don't want to give you the wrong information. And that's why we always come out saying, like, we're very focused on aid and being a resource to them in addition to us. The conversation that we have this week with DCEO, we'll post an update once we have it. And we plan on asking that question specifically to them, because we think that's the relevant place to ask
Absolutely.
it. And we'll share the response with you. Does that make sense?
Cool.
Also, are there other organizations? Is there like a Wisconsin version of what you're doing, or Minnesota,
Absolutely.
or Nevada? Are you guys coordinating with other states as well, or?
Allie, you've got the mental list.
Yeah, I've got the mental list. So we've talked to a lot of people. We talked to Minnesota. There's 12 people organizing in Minnesota. I've got a call with someone in Los Angeles today. Someone down in New Orleans was on our kickoff Illinois Events Coalition call. There is somewhere in Rhode Island. So what we're seeing with the coalitions popping up, and then we were on a call last week with the Engage Foundation. Engage Summits is a conference that happens, but they also have a philanthropic arm. We've noticed, like, we've had an uptick in our emails and inquiries, because I think people are interested, much like DC mentored us, on how they can start. And so we're seeing that happen in all of the states now, which is so inspiring, especially the states that are that are not open, even semi-open, because a lot of, and then someone from Ohio sent me a message yesterday, and so I'll reply to them today. So we are seeing it happen all over the US. Michelle.
Also wanted to say, David, in addition to seeing these coalitions come up within each state, there is also the Live Events Coalition. Isaac, we need to give a shout out to, because he's wonderful. He started what he refers to as the Live Events Coalition. And what does that mean? Anyone that participates in the creation and execution of a live event counts. So from your live nation type people that do large concerts, to those of us that are in live events. A wedding is a live event, so it counts. And what they are doing on a national level is helping us individually as states learn how to hone in what we're asking for, communicate back to them. Ultimately, their goal is to have lobbyists. They're looking to create a full-blown lobbying component to their coalition on a national level, that we would all help feed into state by state to really make change beyond the state of Illinois. So I wanted to say that on the call, because I thought that was really important to mention to everyone. And I do have an update from Isaac regarding a really cool piece of legislation that's coming out of New York, and that is endorsed by the travel agency, that will impact us, that we will share later this afternoon on our Facebook as well, and in our updates on the website. So that's another really cool piece, David, that we hadn't talked about. Like, all of the individual states are supported on this national level by that Live Events Coalition.
Yes. Frank just posted that Mayor Lightfoot is holding a press conference to discuss contact tracing today at 1. We can't assume what she's going to say today, but agreed. I think that we should all be on that. Frank, thank you for letting me know the time of that. That is great.
1 p.m. Central?
1 p.m. Central.
There we go.
And so you can watch that on her Facebook page or on your TV. And then Shannon had a question. Not sure about the outdoor guidelines, are still waiting on the toolkit. Agreed. We all are still waiting. You have 300 acres just west of Naperville. So thinking outside the box is going to be great once we have the information that we need for the guidelines and everything.
For those of you that saw, before you say, I just want to say something really quickly. For those of you that saw that PDF that came out yesterday, I don't know if we got it, I think because we got it as part of being in restaurants.
Yes.
It was really interesting because it had information on how to train employees for biohazard and coronavirus protocols and procedures, signage that you should have posted, guidelines that you should be following. The interesting thing was, though, the document itself said, download here to train your employees. And it didn't work. Download here to get your signage. and it didn't work. So if any of you experienced that, let me know. Just to share with you, what we did is we emailed back to the Illinois Restaurant Association, and we're like, hey, this isn't working. Once it is, I'm happy to share that within the coalition so that you all can at least see what that's looking like. I think it's important for us as the events industry to learn about what's going on in the restaurant industry. I don't think that, I don't know how much,
overlap.
yeah, they'll be on yet. We'll see. We don't know any, like, will venues be considered restaurants? And I don't know, because right now bars are not being considered restaurants either. So still TBD, but I do think it's important to pay attention to. So just wanted to say that. What were you going to say?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting time because we're waiting to hear a lot of information.
Right.
And what people can do during that time, though, is, if they are sole proprietors or something like that, they should be applying for PUA. If they are a business owner, they can be looking at grants and PPP still. Like, for instance, I applied for PPP. I finally got my 2019 Schedule C most of the way done to a point where it was sendable. And I applied via Square, which is the credit card reader company. Square is still taking PPP applications. So there's a lot of things you can be doing in the meantime while we're waiting on these toolkits, where we're waiting to kind of figure out where things are going.
How long did it take you when you applied with Square?
15 minutes.
And when was that?
Friday. Yeah, it took me 15 minutes on Friday.
With the process?
No, but they actually do provide a little bit of updates. Yeah, they actually have a screen you can go to. It's not like the EIDL loans where there's not a lot of information and you can call, but there's no relevant place of where you're in the queue.
Right.
So doing those kind of things and following up on them, making sure you have all your ducks in a row. This is a great opportunity from a financial side to really make sure your business is as clean and clear as possible as far as your receipts, all your invoices, et cetera, because in the next year, there's going to be a lot more scrutiny based on all these grants, loans, et cetera, that are going to be coming in. So having all those things now ready to go is going to be really, really nice. And that's a good way to pass the time.
And that's also why the coalition isn't going to go anywhere, because while we're in an urgent moment now, and the aid may come in the near future, and then there'll be a bit of a process while we reopen. On the backside of this, there's going to be managing PPP, managing the grants and the loans. How do you account for that? How do you report it? So we want to stay as a resource for people in terms of continuing to educate and share knowledge. So that's something that's important to us too.
Good. And if you guys want to reach out to Colin, I know he seems like he spent a lot of time in the trenches.
The Facebook group
up
is
to his eyeballs,
way.
David.
Yeah. Yes. You might need some glasses like Michelle's coming up if you.
We're in the same house, and there's I don't see him for some of the day because he's out in PUA land.
This PUA has been a pain in the ASS.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that sharing that information can be super helpful because there are so many abbreviations to sort through. And to not, I know you're not necessarily a lawyer and you don't play one on webinars, but it is important for you to, for people to listen to what Colin's actually going through and what forms don't waste your time on this form because you won't get it. But these things are available. These are the steps to go through to do that. So
yeah,
it's really good to just talk to people that are, Colin doesn't have any financial interest in helping you. No. He just wants to give you the information, and so that can save you a lot of time, so that you're not overwhelmed.
Facebook groups away, please. Do that.
Shannon, 300 acres. I feel like you need to do a drive-in movie theater.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Hello.
Couldn't you fit socially distanced cars with a screen and make a lot of money doing that? And Naperville, is there one out there that way yet? I don't know, but I used to love those as a kid.
Totally.
And I feel like they solve a lot of issues. You can go out and still be safe. So I feel like it's friendly from a marketing standpoint right now. It's not like a hot button. And so I don't know. I just saw 300 acres and I saw Naperville and I was like, oh, yeah,
there you go.
Jasmine is saying we're doing a drive-in at Loft 21. Love it. Oh, the restrooms are still the issue.
Yeah.
Well,
Port O. Johns.
Or wait, no, but isn't it watch at your own containment? I don't know. It's 2 hours. Can't people just hold it?
Yeah, it depends. Okay, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, drive-through movies are.
I see what you did there, David.
That
I
was
see
not
what you
right.
did there.
I shouldn't have said that. Drive-in movies are fun. I remember I
Yeah.
saw Blues Brothers when I was a kid, but
Yeah.
couldn't see it as well from the trunk. But
Yeah,
still,
right.
it was fun for my dad to take me to the program. I think that'd be a great use of space. How about something for the events industry? An events industry night of what do you think would be a great movie? You know, to watch or
The
something.
wedding planner.
The wedding planner. Right. I think that would
Or
be a
that
lot
what
of
was
fun.
what was Adam Sandler's the wedding? What was
The Wedding
his?
Singer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sure.
Wedding Crashers. Shannon, this is great. I'm buying a ticket.
Okay, we can certainly. I think that'd be a great use of space.
Right.
So see, look at that. We just solved the whole problem there, right? So there's that. McHenry has been successful starting up their theater. They have a bunch of graduations.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like you can do other kinds of events too. And I'm assuming, Annette, when you say that, did they stay in their cars during the graduation? Was it the same format as like a drive-in theater? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's that's cool. So, and I think the important thing is like so many people right now are going in so many different directions, all of which are great. From those people that are considering, you know, is it a smaller wedding or a smaller event? Is it a different kind of use for our space like we're talking about here? All of the ideas are good. Just like before this, the importance of brainstorming, the importance of having a little bit of hustle and a little bit of ingenuity, none of that changes, right? Well, you don't need to like go and learn a new language if you're not comfortable or, you know, prove to yourself that you can whittle something out of wood, right? You're still a business person. So you shouldn't just give up on having drive or hope or brainstorming. So like, I applaud you guys. Jasmine is telling us what Hype is doing drive-through graduations. Just need to be creative and make your service a commodity. 100%. Like I worked with a young woman named Elise over the weekend. She helped me at the restaurant by putting up a beautiful balloon installation. And this is something she was not doing before. And chick from Chicago, she's actually a planner. And I loved the creativity of that. And there's a couple of other businesses like Luft and 312 Paris that are doing really cool things to put beauty out in the world. And lots of places are coming up with little party kits. Florists are now doing that. I'm sure, David, you're thinking about like, how can I take the large entertainment?
I've got some giant ideas that are going to be coming out next.
Yeah.
Next
and I think, you know, I've loved seeing some of these things that other entertainers are doing both in Illinois and out of Illinois. Like Becca Kaufman shared something about a band walking down a block, you know, to like a marching band, to, you know, give a nod to a graduate. And I think we are creatives. Let's see what Annette is saying. I did my first outdoor bat mitzvah photography session. I did not love the mask, but am working it out. Good for you. Good for you. And props for that, because that's the thing. Tenacity is the thing. Like, you know, we don't have a choice. We got to get through it.
Absolutely. And it may be something that you may not have even thought was possible. I mean, if you guys, the ultimate one for me is Justin Jacobson from Platinum Sanitation, who used to do Platinum Decor.
Right.
And he just locked himself in a room and he thought about what assets do I have? What do people need?
Right.
And how can I put that together? So he had this big plant, had all these vans, he had this loyal staff, and people need sanitation. So he switched everything over from Platinum Decor and doing these, you know, conferences, those big, huge displays,
right,
to doing sanitation, and he is absolutely killing it.
Right.
Because he's, you know, the best way to get ahead is to find a parade and stand in front of it. So he's found out what resource do we have? What am I legally able to do? What do people need?
Right.
And then kind of jumped into that. And if you
And
can find that,
I see
you
Cajun
can really
Aquarium.
tap into something great.
Oh, 100%. Cajun Aquarium makes a super valid point. It is so exciting to hear these stories. Let's innovate. We are creative and we are total badasses. I concur.
Yes.
Yep.
And I feel like the whole benefit to these kinds of webinars, and like David, thanks for being such a great leader on this one, is to create this kind of energy. Like, I hope you all walk away feeling as excited, like, you know, someone's advocating on your behalf. You know, David is creating a space where you can discuss ideas, and now you're all leaving with maybe a little bit of inspiration. Like, that's badass is the perfect way to put that. I like that.
And we are all entrepreneurs at our core. We may have different aspects, photographers or planners or flowers, but we all have to be entrepreneurs initially. We also have that spirit of like, I want to create something, and nothing's going to stop me. And we've all gone through incredible challenges and people doubting us and like saying that's ridiculous. Why don't you get the job at the bank down the street or, stay in your family business? But
Right.
like, this is your thing. This is what made you successful, what made you last 17 years or 15 years, or this is our 20th year. And like, just by going through all this stuff, and I just will not be denied. And you guys won't be denied too, because you've got people, you've got advocates, you've got people like all these people on the screen and all the people that are on this group that are there to help you guys. And all the information is here.
Can I leave you with one thought?
Yes.
Okay, so it's kind of right on what you're talking about. You're talking about being in business 20 years. Allie, this is her 17th season. So many of us have longevity on this call and in this industry. And in the restaurant industry, I am the third generation entrepreneur in my family. So my grandfather created the restaurant with his friend Giorgetti in 1941. We opened in June of 1941 in a time of war. Okay. The building that we are in is from 1874. It was built with wood that was forged after the Chicago fire. So scrap wood that was left in piles, someone took and created the building that we are in that was built in 1874. Still there.
Yep.
Opened in a time of war, survived it. Been through every up and down you can imagine in River North because it was very much a destination location for a long time. It didn't have all like the glossy galleries that it does now when I was a kid. Caught on fire, as I mentioned, in September. We're closed for 6 months. We had to fire our operations director, who was a family member prior to that. So a lot of shit came our way, and we're still here. And that's the thing. If you learn anything when you go through that kind of strife and that kind of struggle, is that all it is motivation to survive and to be that much more successful on the back end. Like I should not be functioning. I should not be a functioning human because of everything, right? But I mean, why? And I think, at the end of the day, like when you have that kind of age behind you, like you've seen a thing or two in your industry, you've experienced a thing or two with clients, you've been innovative, you've ridden phases and trends, and you've been on the forefront of them. Maybe you've made mistakes. I'm sure you have. You should have in order to learn. And you've done all that pre-COVID. So while this is unprecedented, it doesn't mean you don't have the toolkit to survive it. And I just want you to,
Absolutely.
I just want you to know that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everybody. If there are any last minute questions, I'll give you guys a minute to write that. But I would like to thank personally, Allie and Michelle and Colin for all the work that you're doing, for being here on this webinar. It really means a lot. And know that the three of you have a lot of people that are supporting the work that you're doing, and through all the tough calls and all the emails and documents and stuff, it's worth it, because that's how we're going to get through this, and we will come through this stronger and more united than ever. But in the meantime, I get by with a little help from my friends. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So thanks so much, everybody, everybody who's watching this. And I will be wrapping this up, and I'm going to post the replay of it so you can share it with everybody you know. Hopefully it'll be inspirational, helpful, and be sure to join the Illinois Events Coalition on their website. Do everything Allie has asked you to do to sign up, and you get a free members only jacket, I think.
Yeah.
Is that true? Is it? Okay.
That would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Not so sure about that one, but sign up, fill out the form, send those letters, stay enthusiastic, do some jumping jacks, go for a walk, be yourself, stay authentic. And thanks for supporting the Unplanned group as well. And be sure to tune in next week, a special time at noon. Celebrity wedding planner David Tutera is going to be on. I'm super excited, and we're going to keep having our Ask the Experts seminars on Tuesdays, and the Illinois Events Coalition is doing a lot of other stuff on Tuesday as well. So Tuesday is kind of a big day for getting stuff done. Mm-hmm. Keep dreaming, keep positive, surround yourself with good people, and take care of yourself, and better days ahead, my friends. Okay.
Yeah, and email us your questions if you have questions we didn't answer. Like Rachel, I know you had one we didn't get to. Feel free to send it to us. Instagram, website, however, Facebook. Even send them to David, and he'll get them to us. We'll try to get them answered for you.
Totally.
All right, guys. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you,
everyone.
David. Thank you,
Have a great
everybody.
day.
Have a great day, and we'll see you all again soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.